Nobody expected such a heated controversy to spark from a practice session, but that's exactly what happened during the Canadian Grand Prix weekend. Christian Horner didn't stay quiet when questioned about a call made by the stewards, a decision that directly affected Yuki Tsunoda during the final practice round. The situation revolved around Tsunoda overtaking Oscar Piastri's wounded McLaren, which was limping across the track under red flag conditions. That single move ended up costing Yuki a brutal 10-place grid penalty for the main race on Sunday, a punishment so severe it effectively ended any realistic hope of scoring points. The frustration among the Red Bull garage was loud and clear. Horner's voice added weight to what many others had already been saying. The FIA's approach to enforcing rules is becoming harder and harder to follow. Inside the paddock, there's growing confusion, especially when it comes to penalties related to damaged cars still on track. So, naturally, a big question is now being asked. Can the authorities ever put in place standards that stay consistent across all situations? Looking at the incident in more detail, as Yuki approached Piastri's car, it was clear that the McLaren wasn't just slow. It was a ticking hazard. The tire was damaged, the car wobbly, and any attempt to follow it could have led to unnecessary risk. So Yuki made a call. He didn't push recklessly, he moved around it, trying to avoid any threat to his own car. But here's the point that stings. Similar past incidents didn't receive even half as much punishment. For example, last season, Sergio Perez had to bring a Red Bull back to the pits with a broken rear wing. His penalty? Just a 3-place grid drop, and that too for the next race. But this time, for a move made to avoid a dangerous situation, Yuki got slammed with a penalty over 3 times heavier, and instantly applied. Horner made it known that the decision didn't sit right with him. While speaking to media, Horner pointed out the unfairness. He mentioned that Tsunoda got hit with a penalty for passing a slow-moving car. While post-race there were several instances where other drivers overtook under unclear circumstances, some even with marshals still on the track, and yet, nothing was done. No investigation, no penalties, just silence. So where's the line? Why do some actions lead to instant punishment, while others get ignored completely? As the dust settled after Saturday's practice, the tension didn't ease, it only grew. The situation with Tsunoda kept raising eyebrows, especially when compared to other moments that unfolded across the weekend. One such example came straight after the main race had ended. Multiple cars were spotted overtaking while the safety car was still in effect. This, according to the rules, isn't allowed. Yet, despite a brief investigation, no penalties were handed out, not even a warning. Even Horner himself admitted he had a brief moment of hope. He thought that perhaps, if the stewards handed out any post-race punishments, Tsunoda could be bumped up the final standings, maybe even to a 5th-place finish. But as usual, nothing changed. The officials took no further steps, and the race results stayed exactly as they were. This isn't just about one driver or one team. It's part of a bigger problem that's been brewing for a while, decisions that leave everyone scratching their heads. The team backing Tsunoda didn't beat around the bush. Their position was clear. Oscar Piastri's damaged McLaren was barely able to move and wasn't even staying on the racing line. If Yuki had kept following it, there was a real risk of something going wrong, either from debris, sudden braking, or complete stoppage. What if the McLaren had broken down right in front of him? The outcome could have been disastrous. From their point of view, Tsunoda wasn't reckless. He showed judgment and care, choosing the safer option rather than gambling with a risky situation. Yet, the one who took that step got penalized, while the car creating the danger was left untouched. That sends a strange message. What exactly are drivers expected to do in moments like these? Tsunoda himself didn't try to play it cool. He was visibly upset but explained his side calmly. He described seeing Oscar's rear tire wobbling badly, almost as if it was going to come off. He said he moved as far right as possible to avoid it, checked for traffic around him, then passed at about 170 kilometers per hour, nearly half the usual racing speed, and yet, he still ended up penalized. In his words, "I don't know what they expected me to do," and honestly, a lot of people watching agreed. It wasn't a move driven by aggression. It was caution, plain and simple. But once again, caution got punished, yet again. Formula One found itself in a situation where rules seemed to shift depending on the moment, the driver, or maybe even the mood of the stewards. Horner didn't hold back. He pointed out that even in riskier situations like the post-race overtakes under yellow flags, while marshals were still on the track, no action was taken. Meanwhile, a cautious move made during a red flag, with all safety checks in place, was punished heavily. The contradiction couldn't be more glaring. Adding to the confusion, Tsunoda's penalty had a significant impact. It dragged him out of Q2 and left him starting near the very back of the grid. That alone made his race incredibly difficult, and realistically wiped out any serious chance of finishing in the points. To make matters worse, other penalties handed out that same weekend only made the whole situation feel more random. Both Liam Lawson and Pierre Gasly were hit with sanctions for making changes to their cars under park firm rules. That shuffled the starting order and left Tsunoda right at the bottom. and for many, that didn't reflect the real potential he had shown earlier in the weekend. Christian Horner made it clear. This wasn't just a missed opportunity, it felt like something had been taken away from Tsunoda. According to him, if Daniel Ricciardo had started the race from where he originally qualified, he probably would have brought home some points. And by that logic, Yuki had the same, if not better, potential to do so. Horner didn't stop there. He also spoke about Tsunoda's overall approach to car setup. There's been a quiet push within the team to get him closer to Max Verstappen's driving style and preferences, but Horner warned against that. Instead of copying what works for someone else, he said, Yuki should focus on finding what suits him personally and build around that. After all, a driver's confidence often starts with how comfortable they feel in the car. The problem is, improvement alone might not be enough anymore. In Horner's eyes, unless Yuki starts delivering consistent performances that match the machinery he's been given, his future in the Red Bull system could be at risk. And that brings up some uncomfortable questions about what's coming next, especially with 2026 getting closer. Looking ahead, the picture gets even more uncertain for Yuki Tsunoda. The current Red Bull setup is full of hungry young talent, all aiming for a shot at the top. Names like Issa Kajar are already being discussed seriously, and not just for the future. Even 2025 could bring major changes. Depending on how the rest of this season plays out, Hajar has had a standout start to the year, consistently delivering strong results and proving he's not just another rookie. Some within Red Bull already rate him as the most promising young driver after Verstappen. If Tsunoda doesn't step up soon, the team could very well decide to give Hajar his chance, possibly as early as next season, and it doesn't end there. Kimi Antonelli is another rising star who's catching attention, along with Arvid Lindblad. Red Bull is known for acting fast when they spot potential, and there's talk that Hajar might be promoted straight to the senior team, with Lindblad stepping into the Racing Bull seat. If that happens, it could completely derail fans' development plans, and more importantly, leave Tsunoda without a place. Unlike someone like Liam Lawson, Tsunoda may not have a fallback inside the Red Bull ecosystem. If the decision-makers believe Hajar is the better long-term bet, especially heading into the 2026 regulation changes, Tsunoda could be the one left out. Right now, the only potential option on the horizon might be the new Cadillac project, which is reportedly eyeing experienced drivers. If names like Sergio Perez or Valtteri Bottas don't join, and Tsunoda becomes available, he could find a door open there. But even that's not a guarantee. One thing, however, is crystal clear. The way the FIA is handling penalties and rules is making life harder for everyone on the grid. Yes, drivers like Tsunoda have areas to improve, but they're not the only ones under pressure. The decision-makers at the top need to take a hard look at how they're applying the rulebook. Without consistency, talented drivers will keep paying the price for unclear, uneven calls, and that could shape the future of the sport in ways no one wants. So, what's your opinion on how things were handled in Canada? Was the penalty fair? Or was it another case of unclear rules being unfairly enforced? And more importantly, should Piastri have been penalized for putting others at risk with a damaged car? Let us know your take. And if you want more real talk on what's happening in F1 from controversies to driver shakeups, make sure to check out the next video.